Welcome back to the Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes. Tonight, I'm joined by Chris McElwain, and we are here on Champions League duty. It's Celtic 0, Kairat 0. Poor first half. Chris, where did it all go wrong for you? Because it's been possession, but they're hitting us on the counter. We've not created a single proper chance, goal-scoring chance. I'm going to get into more specifics in terms of the performances of individual players and what I would do to change it at half-time. What's your take on that first half?
Sloppy. Very, very sloppy. This is our home stadium. We know the length of the pitch, so why do we keep playing balls that are about 15 feet longer than the edge of the pitch? The final ball has been absolutely dreadful. We don't seem to be able to pick out our own players. We're not winning any one-on-one confrontations with the opposition. Just a lack of quality on display, to be honest. I can't dress it up. There were two positives for me in that first half. One was the intent of Benjamin Ingram, who I thought has been the probably the one creative bright spark. He's trying to make something happen. I don't think he's been served by some poor runs. But the second positive is the fact that we've managed to keep the score at nothing each, because I think it was Acsom, I'll give him the credit. If we are up against a better team, we're a couple of goals down in this match, because and not necessarily because we're getting outplayed. It's because we are playing so poorly. I don't think I've seen quite as bad an opening 25 minutes in Europe for quite some time, and I don't think the second half of that first period got much better. We just looked toothless. Yeah, sloppy, toothless, turgid, not good enough.
Well, the thing with these games, unfortunately, there isn't much positives to pull from that first half. So hopefully no one thinks that we're deliberately being negative for the sake of it. That was poor. I'm going to start off with a point that's coming in from Barry McCluskey. Barry, great to see you on Sunday night at the Acsom gig with Manny. And I'm going to have to start with Idah, because I've got quite a lot of points to bring up in relation to his performance, not just tonight, but I just think that this has been a subject before the game that we spoke about, the fact that people are getting behind him, they're standing up for him, they're willing for the Adam Idah tenure at Celtic to work out. There's something not quite right. And I mean, listen, I'm going to say it here. Barry McCluskey says Idah offers nothing, starting to feel that his teammates don't trust him. Right. We mentioned after the game fairly recently, was it Aberdeen, where he was basically not working hard enough. McGregor went through him. I remember a game last season. I was in the main stand. It was a Bayern Munich home leg, and it didn't get picked up on camera, but Brendan Rodgers absolutely berated Adam Idah for a similarly lacklustre performance. His awareness, his positional awareness is way off it, to the point where all that good stuff that we spoke about with coming into the game on the pre-match and on the half-12 today, all that good stuff. So if you take the 6-month loan deal, everything he'd done on that loan deal, right, where he's bossing games against Kilmarnock when we win the league, he scores 2 against Motherwell, a powerful header against Motherwell, he scores 2 penalties against Hibs, absolute, balls of steel to step up on 2 occasions. He scores twice against Rangers, one of them was a Scottish Cup winner. So you're thinking, right, that the boy's got something. He's got the raw minerals, right? He's working his socks off. He then becomes a first-choice striker for a spell last season. And, we've seen much more of this kind of lacklustre play dripping into it. Yes, he scored 20 goals. But the point I would make here is I did spot Rodgers berating him last season. He did the same tonight, and no wonder. Absolutely no wonder. I've counted 3 occasions where Kieran Tierney has played in balls that any striker would love to attack, Chris. Anybody would love to attack these. I remember Chris Sutton talking about Idah's goal against Motherwell at Fir Park, and Sutton was saying, look, I watched this kid when he was at Norwich, Chris Sutton's former club. I've never seen him scoring a goal like that. We were told by James French, who follows Irish football closely, that he wasn't great in the air. I don't care. The balls that Kieran Tierney's plotted into the tonight, your striker has to make an effort. There was a moment there near the end of the first half, right, where he jumps up. It's the one where Scales gets on the end of the corner. He jumps up after the ball's past him. passed them by. Now, Adam Idah, right, £8.5 million rising to 9.5. We'll be lucky to have to pay the other £1 million because I'll be surprised if he's still at the football club. He's no threat whatsoever in the air, right? You talk about him having to drop deep, and he doesn't know why. Chris, he doesn't have the in-game intelligence to know why he's dropping deep. The twice that he did it, something happened behind him. We created space in behind him.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand why he has to do it. And then there was a moment where he was 6 yards offside and he's just bouncing about the penalty area, blissfully unaware, the only person in the stadium who is. Now, the thing is, Brendan Rodgers stood up for Adam Idah. He stood up for him after that video was released and it went viral because he was out on the town and all the rest of it. Rodgers stood up for him, defended him. Rodgers said his performance against St Mirren on day one of this season was excellent when it was miles from being excellent. And he goes out there and does that tonight. He's been absolutely rank rotten in that first half. I would take him off, put Idah through the middle. I would even play Yang on the wing. I would actually play Yang on the wing before I would put Idah out in the second half. Absolutely toothless performance.
This was my fear tonight, and I said it earlier. And there are times where you quite like being proven right. I don't enjoy this, but I did say tonight, if Adam Idah doesn't turn up tonight and show something that we expect of him, then I think it could be the point of no return for him, and it's looking that way tonight. There were three specific events that I noted in that first half, which really annoyed me. The first one was, there's a great ball comes in. Again, I think came in from the left. Really good cross. Adam Idah doesn't attack it. He's standing well off the defender. Defender has no bother clearing it because he's not under any pressure whatsoever. Adam Idah's a big guy. Go and make the defender feel your presence. Go and give him a problem. Give him something to think about. He doesn't. He's standing about a yard off him, jumping. He's no chance of getting to the ball first. Absolutely dreadful from a striker. The second one was, again, a great ball in from Tierney, low whipped cross. Should be bread and butter for a striker. And the comment that came up earlier was about trust. Forrest gets to the ball first. That should be Adam Idah's ball all day long, but he doesn't look interested. And Forrest gets to it.
There's a moment when James Forrest is looking to get past his man, and Adam Idah runs away from him.
Yeah.
His game intelligence is non-existent.
Non-existent. And then there was the third one that you mentioned where his timing for runs and jumps is just poor. But there's another occasion where, and you'd mentioned it before, Callum McGregor telling him where he needs him on the park. He's doing it again tonight because he's having to.
Yep.
And that, I'm sorry, Alan Morrison summed it up. He said because he keeps doing the same things over and over again, he looks learning resistant. And I think there's evidence to support that based on tonight's performance. So, look, I hate to criticise one of our players, but you can only base it on what you can see. And we all wanted Adam Idah to do well tonight, but there's nothing. We're toothless up front, and he's the focal point of that lack of clinical outlet up there. It's just
the thing is, Chris, I stood up for him even last season because the point I was making last season is if you take the Champions League campaign, now one of the best parts of last season, one of the biggest progressions for us was the Champions League campaign, right? And if you take that campaign in isolation and you look at his performance in his very first game against Slovan Bratislava, first ever Champions League game, he scores. And you think to yourself, well, when someone comes to Celtic, there is always that big test. Can he do it in the big Glasgow derby? Can he do it in the Champions League? And you're thinking, right, he's already proved he can do it against Rangers in his loan spell. Let's see if he can do it in the Champions League. And he proved it straight off the bat and he scores the goal, right? And then you're looking at his performance in Atalanta. Not a goal, his performance. He was tireless in his efforts that night. He had a thankless task. Didn't get much of the ball, closed every defender down constantly. We were on the back foot and we defended all night. It was a great performance by Idah and the team. Aston Villa scores a double. Young Boys of Bern forces the goal that gets us through. So last season, I'm standing up for this guy. I'm thinking he's going to come good. He looks this season miles off it. Yeah. Miles off it. He's not sharp enough and he's not doing what he's told. McGregor is rollicking him. And you think, right, he did it at the beginning of the season and we pinpointed it after the game, Chris. If you and I can see it, we've never been in a dressing room. We've never played any kind of level of football and we can see it watching it. How can Adam Idah not realise this? And when there was the opportunity, unfortunately, when Alistair Johnston's getting stretchered off, there's an opportunity for Rodgers to go and speak to him and he was livid. Yeah. He was livid with them, right? And I think that the only way you deal with this tonight, Chris, right? Because I was also talking about earlier, some players need a rocket. I think Engels is getting a bit of a rocket because he's lost his place. I love that attitude. Sometimes you just need that, right? And you react to it. Adam Idah seems to just go in the huff. He just, he's not that bothered, shrugs the shoulders. I take him off at half time tonight.
Yeah, I think the jersey's weighing too heavily on him, if I'm honest. Like I say, getting into the Celtic team is only one part of the challenge. It's staying in and proving you deserve to stay in. And at the moment, look, we're struggling for recruits, we're struggling for bodies, but I think this is the time where you need to make a change. And look, for the players' own good as well. Something's not working for them. And look, we don't know what the circumstances are. I don't want to, way too heavily.
The circumstances are that he's not playing well, Chris. Sometimes we look for far too many reasons as to why a professional footballer. Yeah. Who do you think Brendan Rodgers was talking about today or yesterday when he was talking about that wage goes into your bank account, and whilst it does that, you give 100% for Celtic? There's somebody specific he's talking about.
I think so, and I spoke about it the pre-match. I said I wanted to see, even if he doesn't score, even if he doesn't assist, I want to see a man who looks as though he's given off having died for the badge, and I don't think Adam is doing that. I didn't see a drop of sweat on him, to be honest, when he was coming off at half-time. So, yeah, it's not working. I would take him off. I think this is a time where you say, okay, enough's enough. We've got too much at stake for this game, because looking at the way this team's performing, I am now quite worried about our chances going over to Kazakhstan. And listen, look, we've spoken about Adam Idah. Adam Idah's not the only one that's off it tonight. I don't think many of the other players have had a great game. I think Maedah's, getting quite well marshalled out there. Kalmak's passing's been poor at times, again, getting the range. Nygren, I think, is still trying to find the chemistry with certain players. Hatate, I don't think, is done too much. KT, you'd probably say, has been one of our best crossers, but there's just not many good performers out there at the moment. So everybody has to up their game tonight, because we're in a match, probably more of a match than we thought we'd be in.
Yeah, I'm going to get some of these comments in before we go back to the second half. Kevin McMonigal, get Yang and put Maeda through the middle. I would even do that. There's another option, of course, to put Nygren on the right, Forrest on the left. Forrest isn't having the best night tonight either. HRIMR, you have to take him off, no discussion. 3-5-2. Celtic World Order's in as well. Idah is an easy target, and we don't mean for criticism. I mean, he's an easy target because of the size of him, but he's not even making himself available. A plank of wood. No players get pass marks here as it stands. Maeda has been pathetic too, but he's the best option through the middle now. I agree with that. Listen, we'll get back onto all the chat around going into these games where you don't have enough quality coming in on the transfer window, but those 11 players that are on the pitch tonight must do a lot better than they have done so far.
Must sharpen up. Yeah, absolutely.
You and Boy Martin, we turned up today thinking this would be easy. That's complacency. No quality anywhere in the park. We will be lucky just to get a win. I tell you what, right? I think that when you're looking through these comments, everybody's sharing the same frustrations, and you hope that those characters in the dressing room, and I'm talking Callum McGregor, James Forrest, Tony Ralston, Kieran Tierney, I want to see them. Is Cameron Carter-Vickers a vice-captain? I've seen Kasper Schmeichel with the captain's armband. I want every single one of them to step up at half-time and be a captain in the dressing room. Brendan Rodgers, I hope, goes through them in that dressing room, because it's unacceptable. Bob J, Benji Bitter playing a false nine, running into Forrest constantly. And we've also got the slabbering cabbage. I don't think he's dancing outside now. Rodgers signed Idah. We need to kind of let this lie at Rodgers' feet. It's not all the board's fault. I never mentioned the comments by Brendan Rodgers in relation to the wages in your bank, Chris, but I remember last season a similar tone where he was talking about, if you don't want to be here, just leave. We now know, we later found out he's talking about Kyogo. The comments are specific to somebody. And I would, in the fullness of time, I'm sure we'll find out who they are.
He sends messages, I think, in these press conferences and in these interviews, and I think you're right. I think that's a pointed message to a player. And I think, you can, one performance-wise, you could probably pick out who it's meant for. Yeah. And the last comment makes a good point. It's, Brendan Rodgers did sign this player because he obviously saw something in him, but he's now finding that there's something off about this player. He's just not. It's not working. It's not working for the player. It's not working for the team. And at the moment, we're almost playing with a man down with Idah, and that's the biggest criticism I can leverage on, because he is not a presence up there. He's not an attacking threat.
Has he been taken off, Chris? Maedah's taken the centre. Maidah's taking the
Has he?
centre. No, I think he's still on.
Yeah.
He's still on by the looks of it.
Yang is on for Idah.
Is Yang on? Right, fair play, fair
Yeah,
play. Right, so Rogers does agree now and again. Right, thanks everybody for getting involved. 3,000 strong. We're on the break. We'll break off just after this move. Kieran Tierney, good space. This could actually be a good chance. And it's a save. James Forrest draws a save.
Right. Okay.
20 seconds into the second half. Go and enjoy the second half, and we will see you at full time on a Celtic State of Mind.
Come on, Hoops. Come on.